Good afternoon. We are going to talk today about finding the main idea of the text. Here is the story that we're going to read together. It is called A Room of One's Own. Follow me, please. Be that as it may, I could not help thinking, as I looked at the works of Shakespeare on the shelf, that the bishop was right, at least in this. It would have been impossible, completely and entirely, for any woman to have written the plays of Shakespeare in the age of Shakespeare. Let me imagine, since facts are so hard to come by, what would have happened had Shakespeare had a wonderfully gifted sister called Judith, let us say. Shakespeare himself went, very probably. His mother was an heiress to the grammar school, where he may have learned Latin and the elements of grammar and logic. That escapade sent him to seek his fortune in London. He had, it seemed, a taste for the theater. He began by holding horses at the stage door. Very soon he got work in the theater, became a successful actor, and lived at the hub of the universe, meeting everybody, knowing everybody, practicing his art on the boards, exercising his wits in the streets, and even getting access to the palace of the queen. Meanwhile, his extraordinary gifted sister, let us suppose, remained at home. She was as adventurous, as imaginative, as agog to see the world as he was, but she was not sent to school. She had no chance of learning grammar and logic. She picked up a book now and then, one of her brothers perhaps, and read a few pages. But then her parents came in and told her to mend the stockings or mind the stew, and not moon about with books and papers. Perhaps she scribbled some pages up in an apple loft on the sly, but was careful to hide them or set fire to them. Soon, however, before she was out of her teens, she was to be betrothed to the son of the neighboring wool stapler. She could get no training in her craft. That, more or less, is how the story would run, I think, if a woman in Shakespeare's day had had Shakespeare's genius. We need to look at our multiple choice questions, the ones that you can find in ODAS under the assignment that is called A Roof of One's Own. So go ahead and open the assignment. Let us read the questions. Which of the following is the most objective and comprehensive summary of the text? A. According to the narrator, William Shakespeare had an equally talented sister who never fully developed her talents because she was not given opportunities. Or B. The narrator presents how the creative talents of women were not fully developed in the past by describing a hypothetical sister of William Shakespeare. Or C. The narrator writes an essay about women's rights and describes the ways that Shakespeare's hypothetical sister would have supported women's rights. Or D. The narrator outlines a call to action for women to fully develop their creative talents by chronicling the tale of Shakespeare's oppressed sister. Okay, let's think together. So, A is talking about Shakespeare and sister. His sister did not have a chance to develop her talents because she was not given opportunities. Let's look at B. The narrator presents how the creative talents of women were not fully developed in the past by describing a hypothetical sister of William Shakespeare. So first, let's try to find out what is the difference between A and B. So A is talking about a real sister, and B is talking about a hypothetical sister. So try to think about the story and remember if the narrator was talking about a real sister or a hypothetical sister, the one that she made up herself. And that will help you to choose between A or B. So let's see if anything over here makes sense. The narrator writes an essay about women's rights and describes the ways. Do you think the narrator wrote an essay about women's rights? No, I don't believe so. It was majorly about William Shakespeare's sister, and the sister was not real. So let's look at D. The narrator outlines a call for actions. She does not really outline a call for action. Does she? Does she tell us to go and start a revolution? No. So what was your choice? If your choice was B, the narrator presents how the creative talents of women were not fully developed in the past by presenting a hypothetical sister of William Shakespeare, you are a genius. You're a genius. So let's move on. Now we have two more things to do. One is called extended response, and the second is called writing prompt. So extended response is basically a short paragraph that you need to write in order to answer the question. And there are going to be a lot of similar questions on your state mandatory test. So let's read again. Reread the first paragraph of the excerpt from A Roof of One's Own by Virginia Woolf in 3 to 4 sentences. Determine the main idea of the passage's first paragraph, included below. So this one. And explain how the idea is developed in the next paragraph. So you will need to reread this. So let's do it together first. Be that as it may, I could not help thinking as I looked at the works of Shakespeare on the shelf that the bishop was right at listing this. It would have been impossible completely and entirely for any woman to have written the plays of Shakespeare in the age of Shakespeare. So in 3 to 4 sentences, we need to determine the main idea of the passage's first paragraph and explain how the idea is developed in the next paragraph. Okay, let's have a look at the student's prompt here. The first paragraph is about how the narrator used her surroundings to ponder the words of a bishop who pondered whether or not women had the ability to write the great works of Shakespeare. So here you can see how you are able to start answering right away with the first paragraph is about. So you can start your first sentence in the same way. So the first paragraph is about. Now you need to make your own summary. You have to paraphrase. So what is going on here? What is it about? So it's basically is about a girl who is sitting in her room, is looking around. That's what surroundings, that's what it means. So she looks around, she sees some books, and she starts thinking whether if Shakespeare had a sister, she would have been able to develop her talents. And this girl also says that she agrees with a bishop who said that it would not be possible. So that's basically what it says over here. So you'll need to make sure that you're learning to use your own words. So don't forget to just start. The first paragraph is about and summarize it using your own words. Basically, is about a girl who is thinking about Shakespeare and whether a sister, if she had a hypothetical sister, had a chance to develop her talents and was able to write such wonderful stories as he did. Then we need to explain what will go on later. The author phrases her statement in a specific way to note that it would have been impossible. So this is one of the quotes that the model student response suggests to use, but you can use any quote from the end of the first paragraph, the beginning of the second paragraph, that you think work well to support your idea. So for a woman to compose, so would have been impossible. You can use any other quote you think is good. And there is one more quote here. In the age of Shakespeare is just a quote because we need to use some quotes to support our proof. So, and wrap it up. So next, the author launches into a hypothetical situation, supposing Shakespeare's sister was just a talented, but because of systematic oppression was not allowed the opportunity to develop her talent as well as her brother did. So yeah, so basically this is very similar to that. So it's almost like it is an explanation, but it's almost like a paraphrase of this thing. So just to clarify this paragraph for you, let me do it again. So I want you to start. The first paragraph is about, and then you say, a girl who is thinking about the times of Shakespeare. Then you can explain in another sentence more clearly what is she thinking. She's thinking that girls did not have equal educational opportunities with boys. Then you can give a couple quotes from the text to support this claim and wrap it up that that girl, or you want to call her the girl, or you want to call her the narrator, you want to call her the author, that doesn't matter. So so that girl, she imagines a hypothetical sister of Shakespeare, and She believes that